Committee, anybody wish to? Senator Huff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of concerns, and I'll just address the first. So the question of the author. When you are changing section 51204.5, it's a section that says instruction in social sciences shall include, and then you insert into there, you change the names of some of the ethnic groups, and then you also have inserted into, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Americans. So with the word shall, that is something that's not elective. It is you will do that. And this bill has not been flagged fiscal. Is there not going to be a cost to schools with a mandate like that?
No.
I would suggest that perhaps there is, Mr. Chair. I do think this thing should be fiscal because shall is not, may or whatever. There's nothing in this language that says it's at the next textbook adoption, if that's where you think this is going, because it just says from the point it's adopted that they shall include this. And so that would require then schools to adopt something very quickly to comply with this law.
No, I don't believe that's so, Senator Huff.
I mean, just to
respond to that,
I would
that we have, as we went through last week, and I think that's a valid point about whether, in fact, this has a fiscal impact. But remember, we are now going through, and we have stated that there shall be no adoption of materials until the, I believe, 2013-14 year. That's a state policy now. We've also said that when we've adopted a Common Core standard, and what will happen is that from that they will go through a framework process for the new adoption, because we've delayed all adoptions of all instructional materials. That will take, and that's where this material will begin to be addressed with everything else. It is not a unique thing. And that will take approximately 24 months, and then there will be public hearings, and then we go through the adoption of instructional materials, which will take 30 months, where there will be public hearings. And so we're not talking about any unique cost to this, because we have already stopped any kind of new instructional material this legislature has done and the governor has signed, and this will be just part of a larger process that will take place starting in 2014.
Having heard that, I would still suggest there's no language in here that has any caveats. It just says they shall, and that sounds mandate. Well,
we should maybe look at it, but I am saying that this will not have a cost.
It sounds like a mandate. Mandates have costs. The second thing, in the inclusion, you have some very specific groups listed, but then you also have, and this is under the shall clause still, that include history of California, study the role and contributions of both men and women, and you go with all that, and it says, and members of other ethnic and cultural groups. I don't know how you could have a mandate without specifying to whom it is. And I recognize some of this language is already current. The members of other ethnic is currently in there, but you're adding cultural. Does that mean we're going to mandate that every cultural group on the planet is studied? Because it's not, do you understand what I'm saying? It's general.
I do, but I think what you're overlooking, Senator, is the very thorough process which the chair just articulated. This is a long and involved process done at the local level within school districts, all through public hearings, repeatedly through public hearings. We're adding the word in cultural. That will be discussed at the local level. Your question would be debated if there is a specific issue. But this is, I don't think, of much concern.
Well, obviously it's not concerned you. It concerns me because we're setting state law that the others follow, and you've set them up in an impossible task with your very general and broad language. And I will submit to you that it was general and broad previously, but you have amplified that by throwing cultural in there.
And can you point to a past problem as a result of the words and other ethnic groups? Did that cause problems? It's been on the books for how long now?
I don't know that it's caused problems. It is vague. I will tell you that, and this is another concern, when you had your introductory presenting the bill, you focused, and other members and witnesses focused on bullying. And I will submit to you, we already have language that includes quote, black Americans, American Indians, Mexicans, Asians, Pacific Island people. Would you say it's fair that they are being bullied still?
I would acknowledge that.
You
yes.
would acknowledge that. So therefore, just by including another class of people, or however you want to phrase it, sexual orientation in there is not going to preclude them from being bullied, because it still happens. And that goes back to some of the witnesses were saying that you have to deal with a bully. It's an attitude. It's not necessarily focused on anything. It's an attitude of aggression that needs to be worked upon so that people express themselves in ways that are appropriate socially and in other ways. And so I don't believe that by including the changes that you've made in this, it's going to accomplish what your stated concerns are. And I do believe that we also are having shorter days of schooling. We are having trying to bring our records up, and the more extraneous things that we have to include in instruction is taking away from our core responsibility is educating our students. I understand where you're going. I just don't think that it's going to get you where you want to go, and in the process you are alienating another class of people that believe this is morally wrong.
Sure. Using your logic here, one could suggest that even though this legislature made it illegal to use a cell phone while driving, even though we made it illegal, people were still using their cell phones illegally. Why should then we make it illegal to text, since it didn't stop them from using their cell phones?
Well, that was very specific.
We prohibited them from using cell phones because it was dangerous. We added texting because it was dangerous. We've added these categories because we know without putting this into law, many more students are at greater risk. It doesn't end it, but it improves it. And by adding LGBT, it won't end it, but it will improve it. It will raise consciousness. It will bring some greater light and information to students that are currently denied them. And that's why we're doing this.
Well, I would disagree with you, and I understand, I have my one vote, and, the rest of the committee members have theirs. But repeatedly through the Ed Code, we already have the intent of the legislature, blah, 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 to prohibit discrimination on the basis of disability, gender, nationality, race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, all of that. It's repeatedly through here. But this is a whole paradigm shift from setting a framework where everybody is respected and protected to one of active promotion would be how I would see this, when we have to include some things that are very particular, other things that I pointed out are very general, and other cultural or class of people.
So would I get your vote if we delete the words cultural?
No, this is one. I've listed more than just one problem.
I see.
That is a problem, but the mandate is another problem. But the bigger problem is, I think it's not going to get you where you want to go, if at least where you're stating you're going to go, because I don't believe it will reduce bullying. That's a whole other issue. I do believe it will promote the agenda, and I think that's what is of concern to the people.
Is that defined in the bill? What is the agenda?
Well, you're inserting in the Ed Code many different places about promoting a...
No, it says the study of the role and contributions. It doesn't say anything about agenda.
But that is the agenda. Studying the role and contributions of, delineating a lot of different gay, sexual, lesbian, whatever the class. I'm not into the...
We're adding gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. That's what we're adding.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
That's what you're promoting or trying to do.
The role and contribution.
I would just suggest this is not the place to do it, to sexualize the training of our children at early age, when the psychiatrist was explaining they're in a developmental state that is critical as they're trying to figure out their own identity. Maybe at the high school or college level it is more appropriate because they have gelled more into who they are, who they think they are, and that it is more of a conscious decision as opposed to something subliminally taken in by the culture around them.
Senator, we already have sex education in school. That's not what this is.
Exactly.
This is about individuals.
Senator Leno,
yes.
I'm not going to debate. I'm just going to conclude my comments. I understand your passion. I understand your constituency. Mine is in the other direction, and I will not be supporting your bill today.
Very good. And I would only just respond by saying, clearly, it's understandable that we've had different life experiences. I would imagine you've never been harassed or discriminated against because you're a Jew. I would imagine you've never been harassed or discriminated against because you're gay. I have. And I'm telling you from my own personal experiences, it's not about constituency, it's not about passion, it's about what my experience on life has taught me what is fair and equitable. And it makes great sense that our education code requires the study of the role and contributions, not just of men and women, but also of those of different religions, as well as ethnicities. As a Jew, I feel that is a wise thing to have in our education code. And as a gay man, I think it also makes great sense to add gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. And that's all we're doing.
Senator Leno.